It's 7 in the morning in Kyiv, and this is the 1551st day of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine. The ICTV Facts and STB Windows news teams are working for you. I'm Vyacheslav Tsimbalyuk. Welcome. Now, the news. Kyiv endured one of the largest attacks since the beginning of the war last night. More than 40 locations were damaged, according to the Kyiv City Military Administration. According to preliminary data, one person was killed and at least 21 were injured, including a 15-year-old boy. 3 are in serious condition and 13 have been hospitalized, Mayor Vitaly Klitschko reported. The air raid alert began at midnight. First, Shaheds flew in, then cruise and ballistic missiles. The Shevchenkivsky district suffered the most. 2 residential buildings and an office center were damaged. Debris fell on the grounds of 2 schools. There were fires. According to preliminary information, in one of the schools, the shelter where people were hiding was buried under debris. They also extinguished a fire on a gas pipe between residential buildings. In Obolon, a private house, a 3-story building and a 16-story building were damaged. There was also a fire in an open area. Then the fire spread to residential buildings. In a village in the Obolon district, a 24-story building was hit. The structures were partially destroyed. A similar situation occurred in the Pechersky district. Then in the Holosivsky district, debris fell onto the roof of an apartment building. In the Darnitsky district, a dormitory, non-residential premises and a car service station were damaged. In the Dnipropetrovsk district, debris fell onto the roof of a residential building. There was a fire in a private home. A warehouse building and a garage cooperative were damaged. In the Sviatoshinsky district, rocket debris fell on a private residential house. In the Desnyansky district, a supermarket and a shopping center were hit. The main office of Ukropochta on Independence Square was damaged. And at one of the locations that suffered from the Russian attack last night, our correspondent Kristina Havrish is currently present in the capital. She is with us live. Congratulations, Kristina. So tell me what the situation is, how Kyiv residents are recovering after the night attack.
Congratulations, Slav. Indeed, this night was perhaps the most difficult for Kyiv during the entire full-scale war. Literally, all districts were shaken, but here in Lukyanivka, there are probably the most victims, and it suffered the most hits and explosions. Everything around is still burning. State emergency service vehicles keep arriving one after another. They are putting out the fire. Everything is shrouded in acrid smoke. People are walking around wearing masks. As you can see, behind me is the Kvadrat shopping center. It has been almost completely destroyed. The Lukyanivka market has also burned down entirely. A lot of stores here have been damaged. You know, we've filmed here more than once, and every time after such damage from strikes, businesses here would recover and continue operating. But they say that this attack is probably the most devastating for many, and it's unlikely that they will be able to recover. A lot of buildings around here have been damaged with windows blown out. I also live nearby, and debris from a Shahed drone fell on my roof as well. Right now, emergency services are working there. The Lukyanivska metro station was also damaged here. It is currently closed. Perhaps you've seen people even shared videos online of those who were hiding there during the attack. The ceiling literally collapsed. It was very dangerous, so they closed it. People who live nearby say there were a lot of explosions all night long, but 6 of them were the most powerful. Please listen to what they have to say.
It was so intense, I thought my heart would jump out of my chest. All the windows in the stairwell were blown out, in the corridor, in the entrance. That's it. But everything turned out okay.
Is everyone all right?
Yes, everyone is all right.
There were also direct hits literally right next to us. At least 2 houses were struck. One of them is on Belaruska Street. An apartment there was completely burned out. Fortunately, the residents of that apartment were in a shelter and were not harmed. We spoke with a neighbor who lives near that building. She said the explosion was very powerful and that everything shook, even in the shelter. Please listen to her.
Well, we were standing there with a girl and a guy, and they said they had gone down to the 1st floor and that, well, their apartment took a direct hit regarding the situation with our neighboring building. Fortunately, nothing hit us directly, but absolutely all of our windows were completely blown out by the force of the blast. The whole street is covered in shrapnel. We were sitting in the bomb shelter. That's it. It was very loud. It felt like our building was hit. Of all the nights we've had, with all the times we've been bombed, this was the hardest. Nothing like this has happened before.
As of now, it is known that at least one person has died and 21 have been injured. 13 people have been taken to the hospital, including a 15-year-old child. We continue to work at the scene, and more information will be available in the next broadcasts. Slavo?
Thank you, Christia. The terrorist state has once again demonstrated its true terrorist nature. That was Christina Havrish, who told us about the shelling of Kyiv and the consequences of the strikes. Let me remind you, after the Russian night attack, more than 40 locations in the capital were damaged. According to preliminary data, one person was killed and at least 21 more was injured. The Russians also struck Kirovohrad region last night. Drone strikes were recorded in the Kropivnitsky district. 16 residential buildings were damaged there. A fire broke out on the property of one of the households, but it was quickly extinguished according to the regional military administration. 9 people were injured, including 3 children aged between 8 and 12 years as a result of the Russian attack on Odessa region. The occupiers targeted civilian infrastructure, according to the regional military administration. 7 of the injured were taken to hospitals. Doctors assessed the condition of one of the adults as serious. The children are in moderate condition. 3 more people were injured the previous evening in a park in Sumy during the downing of a Russian drone. Their injuries are not serious. Residents are urged to be cautious during air raid alerts. And the head of the regional military administration reported, this week, 3 children were injured as a result of a Russian strike. A 12-year-old child in the Lipovo-Dolinska community and a 16-year-old girl in Sumy. She was waiting for transport at a bus stop, and an 8-year-old boy was wounded on Thursday in Sumy. Also, he reported in the evening, a woman in the Novoslobodska community was injured by a Russian landmine. She was taken to the hospital with multiple injuries. The woman had previously left the dangerous area but returned home to take care of her household. The Sumy Regional Military Administration emphasizes the Russians are mining the territory remotely. Also, the day before, one of those injured during the shelling of a funeral procession on the outskirts of Sumy died in the hospital. Let me remind you, another 14 people were wounded. The Russians continued to target civilian vehicles. In the Kharkiv region, the day before, a car was hit as people tried to evacuate from Kozacha Lopan, a settlement on the border with the Russian Federation. As a result of a strike by a Russian FPV drone, a woman was killed and her son was wounded. And in the Izium district, 2 people were killed when a Russian drone struck a civilian car. This was reported by the Borivska community. The Russians also attacked Balaklaya. 9 people were wounded there. During the day, the occupiers struck with 2 Zherin jet-powered drones. One of the strikes was recorded near a sports complex, the other was near an apartment building. By evening, the occupiers destroyed a church building in Balaklia. As a result of the strike by a combat UAV, a fire broke out in the building covering an area of over 1,000 square meters, according to the State Emergency Service. There were no people in the building at the time of the strike. Vehicles, a post office building, a hotel, a cafe, an educational institution, and an apartment block were also damaged. During the day on Saturday, the Russians also struck the center of Chuhuiv. There too a fire broke out immediately after the strike, which rescuers quickly extinguished. At least 6 people were injured in the Kherson region over the past day. Russia continues to hunt civilians with drones. 2 men sustained mine explosive injuries in Kherson as a result of a drone attack. Another 2 people, a man and a woman, were attacked by an enemy drone in the village of Priozern. Among the injured is a 78-year-old woman. She came under fire in the Korabelny district of Kherson. Once again, enemy anti-personnel mines of the Pryanek type were found in the city, this time on Lodichuka Street. Therefore, the city authorities are urging people to remain vigilant. 2 people were injured in Dnipropetrovsk region over the past day due to enemy shelling. In Marhanets, Nikopol district, an elderly man was injured as a result of an FPV drone strike. Another man was wounded in Nikopol due to artillery shelling. Both were hospitalized. One of the injured is in serious condition. In the coastal communities, an apartment building, a private house, a business, a kindergarten, municipal equipment and infrastructure were damaged. In the Sinelnikov district of the region, the Russians attacked with a glide bomb and an FPV drone. Private houses were damaged, but there were no injuries. The Russian army carried out massive strikes on Naftogaz facilities in the Kharkiv and Poltava regions. This was reported by the company's press service. The attack lasted for more than a day. Critically important infrastructure was hit. Large-scale fires broke out at the sites of the strikes. Serious destruction has been recorded. Fortunately, no employees were injured. They were evacuated in time. The General Staff recorded 173 combat engagements over the past day. The Russians are exerting the most pressure in the Pokrovsk direction. There were 36 attacks there. The occupiers are trying to advance in several areas, losing personnel and equipment, but they do not stop. Just in this direction alone, the defense forces eliminated and wounded 60 Russians yesterday. It's also tense near Kostiantynivka. There, the Russians launched 14 assaults. The situation is even more tense in the Huliaipol direction. There were 20 attacks there. 6 clashes continued through the night. It is also restless on the Lyman, Slovyansk and southern Slobozhansky sectors of the front.